Welcome to the WeWork co-working space at 120 East 23rd Street. In the Gramercy neighborhood of Manhattan. You can visit this WeWork co-working space via mass transit using the 23rd Street Subway stations on the east side. Use MuniMeter.com to better understand on video the neighborhoods surrounding WeWork co-working spaces in New York City. Geez, I wish I still had my MJ40 something NYU.edu address, because in those emails at my NYU accounts and on my old AOL Instant Messengers, I have a lot of messages and a lot of communication that dates back to 2004 and 2005, which is when the lawsuit against Zuckerberg was really kicking off. I do remember back in that time period, I suppose it was in the spring of 2004 when I was living at 3rd North. I do specifically remember while I was at NYU, Cameron messaging me and asking me for my password so that he could look into my, accounts at NYU, and it was either NYU or Facebook or both. And I do remember a couple of years later or soon afterwards, Zuckerberg countersuing, Divya and the twins for some type of hacking into the site. Whether Cameron was using my password for that or whatever, what I can tell you is that back in the early days of the lawsuit and Facebook and ConnectU founding, there was a lot of really bad language back and forth, and there was, if you ask me, likely a lot of hacking from both sides. Whether it was Zuckerberg breaking into the system of these guys, ConnectU Harvard Connection, or whether it was ConnectU Harvard Connection trying to break into the Facebook, hacking into Facebook. I wouldn't be surprised if that was happening in heaps and in loads back in the early days in spring of 2004. It's really, really embarrassing to think how much thin ice these guys are walking on. And why is it that, especially Divya, because Divya is the guy that did the wrongdoing, shouldn't he be smart enough to know that what's happening in the current state of affairs is just not sustainable? When the truth is coming at you, like 1,000 raging bulls at 200 miles an hour, and all you've got is, a revolver and like a leather whip, you can maybe get rid of a couple of bulls here and there, but ultimately the whole pack is going to, come in, the market will do what it needs to do. And, what he doesn't realize is that making threats here and there and, plugging, trying to fix the hole in the ship with a piece of Play-Doh every time it happens, ultimately is not going to work, because, the truth, shall set you free. And, it would be best for him to just come clean, given all of the information and evidence that's kind of proves exactly the opposite of what he's saying. And I just can't believe how stupid he is that he's not, even, come to that realization. And he's definitely a genius. I mean, the guy is a genius, but not all the geniuses in the world have the best common sense, and there's a lot of ego there. And there's also a lot, there's this element that, he's probably surrounding himself with the wrong people and sycophants, people who just kind of do whatever he says and are probably, just his little servants running around. I'm just so happy I'm not in that situation. To quote Tim Cook, who kind of talked about Mark Zuckerberg in that interview with Kara Swisher regarding the data, I'm just happy I'm not in that situation that he's in, and I'm happy that I'm in my situation. Do not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate others who do. I remember my first time, ever, connecting with Divya and also the twins. Divya and I are one grade apart in school, even though I think he's like maybe a year and a couple months older than me, but 1 year apart in school. So I always was best buddies with, another first cousin of mine who was basically the same age, and Divya was kind of with my older brother because both those guys are the same age. But for some weird reason, I don't know if it was sophomore year, end of sophomore year, I reconnected with Divya, and we would constantly be chatting on AOL Instant Messenger, and I just kind of would think about it and say, you know what, this is like a really, really cool guy, and someone, I should look up to and admire. And I guess you could say I kind of became his little brother randomly and unexpectedly. And I started wearing diesel jeans because he had diesel jeans. I started to admire his style and his, way with women, and how he would, secure phone numbers and go out and be so professional. And I kind of became his wingman, best friend, brother, going out buddy, wingman. But as much fun as I had, I guess I started to lose my own identity, because instead of, my world revolving around myself, my world started revolving around him.